Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast, the best podcast in this room. I'm joined by David Scammell.
Hello.
Who looks like he's asleep. You all right, Dave?
Oh, it's the morning after the night before.
Oh, it is indeed.
It's a wonderful chair.
And what a night it's been. Oh, what a night. Stephen Burns.
Hello.
Simon Miller.
Hello and welcome.
And I'm Matt Lees. And obviously Chris Bratt is not with us again.
He's dead now.
Dead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We're going to have a memorial service for him next week.
Yeah, just
Bless Chris Bratt.
We'd like to say a few words.
I love you, Chris Bratt.
I can live.
I dread to think what's happened to the women of Magaluf.
Yeah, and on that note, let's talk about some video games, perhaps. There's quite a big video game that's come out recently, I've heard a lot, and actually I'm the only person in this room who hasn't played it, and that's GTA 5.
What one?
GTA 5.
GTA 5. I'm just going to say I haven't played it because I've got a gammy eye, which means I can't look at screens for too long, and also I didn't get my copy till today. But anyway, you guys talk about GTA. I'm just going to sit here.
Well, I mean, I think, most people, just from the action, know that it's pretty good, to say the least.
Is it? It's quite...
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think the best thing, I think I kind of said this I did the review for VideoGamer.com, which you can read now, but to me, it's not only the best GTA, but it's the best of GTA. They've taken everything they've learned, they've ensured that they've not only included it, but made sure it's better than it was done before. And they've also got rid of some of the stuff that people, actively said they didn't like. And I think, for them to stick to a vision, they've obviously had years and years in the making, and kind of compromise is the wrong word, but make it work on so many levels is fantastic. I mean, my favourite thing is the checkpointing. If you're looking at the evolution of the series, checkpointing is brilliant.
I'm so glad to hear that.
But that's the thing, because
I fucking hated GTA 4.
Well, there was some checkpoint in GTA 4 which were generally miserable to have to go back through, because it was mostly drive this truck for 10 minutes across the city. It's like, there's no skill in doing that.
That's quite harsh. I mean, I would say I fucking hated GTA 4. I love GTA 4. I think it was amazing. But I gave up in the end because of that. Because there was a couple of missions where it was like, I didn't mind the ones that were like drive for 10 minutes, but when it was drive for 10 minutes with some other guy in the car.
And when you have to do it for the fourth time or whatever.
And you'd flip the car and it'd be like mission failed. You'd be like, what? We're fine. So I flipped a car. Big deal. We'll just get another one.
But amazingly, they've obviously taken that under, and it's so much better. Like, there's one mission, before we go into this, there's not going to be any major spoilers in this. We will do a spoiler cast sort of thing later, like we did with The Last of Us in a couple of weeks. But if you want to go in completely, like a virgin, as Madonna would say, maybe you turn down for 10 minutes or whatever. But there is one mission where all it asks you to do is jump a motorbike onto a train. That's what so you think, oh, that's relatively simple, but it's not. It's really quite difficult, and not because it's broken or anything, because it's genuinely trying to jump a motorbike onto a train. And I got really worried. Because obviously, I think, Burns, you were watching me at the time. I tried to, I was like, I can't do this.
You feel under pressure as well, don't you?
And you've got a time limit on it as well. But the best thing about it is that if you miss the train, it just starts you literally back off at the start of the train. So you literally just keep getting to make these attempts. So it never got annoying. It never got frustrating. I just thought, okay, I've got to do that. Whereas if it had put me, miles back, I would have gone, I can't. This is driving me nuts. But I mean, after playing it now for over 40 hours... That's been my life for the last 10 days or whatever. It's the work.
Hey man, admitting it as a first step. Can we just have a...
I've gone through grief.
How long have you been clean for?
Well, now it's about 12 hours.
That's good, man. Well, every hour is important. Just keep going, yeah?
But to me, the thing that I still cannot get my head around is just the world. How much it's packed with things to do and just how it looks.
The world's the best bit.
I don't know how they've achieved this on the Xbox 360.
That's a box quote, isn't it?
Dex Gamble, video game.
Life.
But how have they achieved this on an Xbox PS3? I don't understand. I don't understand how they've done it.
I'm impressed by that. We had some really snarky comments on YouTube. I know, imagine such a thing. We had some snarky comments on YouTube going, oh, this game doesn't look very fuzzy. What's wrong with the quality of this footage? I can't wait for the game to come out on the PC instead of console trash. And it's like, you know what, guys? Actually, you know what? It looks bad on YouTube because it's YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube
go
compresses
play
the
it.
piss out of everything. I am as much of a PC lover as the next man, and I'm shocked at how good it looks on consoles. I'm probably still going to get it on PC when it comes out, because I think the multiplayer particularly will be a lot of fun with some of my mates on PC. But it looks fantastic.
It's a technical marvel. There is just no way about it. I mean, all these, quotes or talk about, it must have cost about 170 million. It wouldn't surprise me, because... I hate when people say, oh, it puts other games to shame. It's like, well, they're doing their own thing. But from a technical standpoint, that is a more than fair thing to say. I don't know how they've done it. If someone would like to tell me, I would love to know, because it looks incredible. And I still get that thing when I'm sort of driving through the mountains or whatever, or the forest. I look around and I go, how is this a game? It's ridiculous. And there's so much to do. Like, you you can't go, half a mile without being distracted or something happening, or the AI doing something that makes you laugh.
That's the thing. It feels alive. It doesn't just look pretty.
Yeah, it does feel alive. It feels like there's people there. They're doing their own thing.
Is it like a living, breathing city?
Oh, it's just like that. It's
because it annoys me, because I'm sure it is, but it's what everyone always bloody says.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean that's a marketing quote gone bad.
Living, breathing city.
I mean that's summed up no more than when you do your jump characters thing. Because every time you jump to Trevor, you never know what he's going to be doing, and half the time it's just. Sometimes it's disgusting, and you're like, I don't even know where to start.
I've heard actually,
sometimes it's hilarious.
That's really impressive in the fact that even after like 30 hours, you start to see them repeat, but
but it takes
rarely.
I mean, I was at about 35 hours when it introduced something new to me. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm 35 hours into the game, and it shows you can do this now if you want. I was like, oh, cheers, appreciate that.
I'm really looking forward to playing it, but I really don't envy you having to review it. It's one of those things that sounds like first world problems, but it's like, I had to review this video game. It was horrible. But actually, nobody here wanted to review that game.
But the thing is, it's just, I mean, it's commendable to Rockstar that it is so big and there is so much to do. But it's also one of those games that you want to experience at your own pace. Yeah, you want to take your time. And like I said, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and, say it wasn't enjoyable to some length. But at the same time, if you are playing at home, you do want to be distracted, and you want to, let those things sort of affect you naturally and stuff. And when you're reviewing it, you do have to kind of.
I'm just really looking forward to chilling out. My favourite things in Red Dead were just sort of chilling out on a horse. Obviously,
there's a lot of Red Dead influences here. Like the world, when you get to the more kind of sparse bits, you can tell. Which I mean that in a completely positive way, in the ecosystem and stuff like that. And they brought across obviously the strangers, and I think they call it strangers and freaks in this one. Which they're cool and they're fun. They're just as good as they were in Red Dead. I still think the highlight of all of those is the one Red Dead with that spooky man.
Oh, the man in the hat.
He was just brilliant. He was just brilliant. But
there's fantastic.
There's one of those guys, one of the freaks. In the
what?
In the gameplay trailer, there was Franklin walked past a guy dressed like I can't remember who it was, but the "we want you" guy essentially, and he's saying, "Oh, everyone should get out of America, blah blah, if they're not white." And he walks past him. Well, I walked past that guy as Trevor, and Trevor walks up and says, because there's this running joke that Trevor is actually Canadian, but doesn't want anyone to know.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's really strange. That does go on for the entire game. It's quite funny. So
this guy's saying, "Oh, the Mexicans should get out," and Trevor walks over and goes, "So what do you think about Canadians?" And he goes, "Well, the Canadians are probably worse." Because they don't even, at least the Mexicans look different. I saw the most natural thing in the world now is just batter this guy. So I just battered him. And that's the genius of the game, is that in GTA 4, there was, I hate this phrase, but ludonarrative dissonance. Nico's meant to be like a nice guy, and he's trying to get out of this world, but he will just kill people for cash. Didn't really fit. But the genius of GTA 5 is that all three of the characters are definite products of their environment.
Yeah.
And so when you switch to Trevor, there's this unbelievable, swaggering, horrible sense that you can do anything and get away with it.
Yeah, that's so true.
I went to. There's loads of these little towns, just little hick towns. Walked into one of them. I think I bought some sweets or something. I was wearing with Trevor, you can buy these horrible checked suits that don't fit quite right. It looks like Beetlejuice, and so you can see his socks, and he's got like Argyle socks that don't match. So I walked in, bought some sweets, and then it said, "You can rob this place." I'm like, "I will," and then just shot the guy and walked out. No one reacted, because it was like, yeah. And I drove off in my 4x4 listening to country music But then if you put on
sounds amazing, I will be honest.
If you put on a station that he doesn't like,
he moans,
"Fuck this," turns it over. There was little things like that.
He goes into certain buildings in Wales as well. These do tie into the story, but they're organic as well. And people say, "You're banned." He goes, "I'm always banned." It's just he's got this reputation where he's a difficult character, because for the first few hours he's awful. I mean that from a story point of view. The stuff he's doing is completely unrelatable, and you're like, this guy is. I enjoyed the disconnect. I thought it was actually quite fun. But then after about 10 hours, as they start to slowly drop who he is, how you do start to not necessarily feel for him, but feel for him more. Maybe. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I mean, I love them all on the different levels, but Trevor certainly has. I won't go into why, but there's a conversation that him and Michael have when they're driving to scout out a bank, and Michael says to him, basically gives him his opinion of who he is, and what Michael says is brilliant, and Trevor's reaction is just, and that's the moment for me I went, they're so well, it's the best characters GTA has ever had.
There's so many moments like that where you're just like, wow. So there was a bit last night I was playing, and it was one of the random events, or it was made out to be a random event, when the little blue blip appears on the radar.
I think they are all random pretty much. I think they follow a pattern, but they are all random.
I was just walking through this car park in this kind of retail park area, and there were these two guys outside holding up the shop owner. The shop owner was basically on his knees with his hands in the air. And it said to me that the guys robbing him said, "Get us a car and we'll sort you out some of the cash," that sort of thing. Did you guys get this as well?
I think I saw that one. I didn't do it though.
And so you're in that situation, like there's these two random guys just holding up this shop owner. What do? You can either kill the guys, presumably, or do what they say and take some of the cash. Anyway, I thought, I'll help them out. And I got a car. Turned out, one of the main characters from GTA 4 was the guy robbing and I'm like, I could have just killed him. Like,
who was it?
Do you want to know?
Actually, maybe don't actually.
And it's like, I had no idea. And
I do want to know,
when
but
he
not on
said
this.
who he was, and I looked at him, I was like, shit.
Oh, that's
yes.
amazing.
And it's
I
like, I
didn't
could
know
have
that.
just killed you. What? And it's things like that. And just the little dynamic events where you walk down, I was telling you this earlier, Burns, is it Grove Street you walk down from the original San Andreas?
Yeah.
And it's all, the gang members there in their colours and all that. And you're just walking around as Franklin there.
But it's lovely nostalgia, isn't it?
Well, I was
of
amazed
course.
by the quality of what they've recreated. I mean, me and Simon did a couple of videos. One video where we were just it's just us driving around the edge of the map actually.
Yeah, it was
and
fun.
if you haven't got the game actually and you just want to get a sense for like if you can't be bothered with all
the scale of it,
the scale of it and also just the architecture, it's worth having a watch. It was actually quite entertaining and surprisingly non-violent. I accidentally fired a gun at one point, but that was
we did run over two people.
That was you. That wasn't me. I'm not taking any responsibility.
No,
for
that was a joint road trip, my
I
friend.
don't know, man. I was just a passenger. I did tell you not to run anyone over. I was quite specific about that.
You did not leave the car, therefore you are.
I'm not having this argument again, Simon. But just looking at like the beach and looking at the pier and just all these different locations, just having this real sense because I've been to LA quite a few times and it's just like, whoa, I've been there. I've been there.
That's the
I
sense
had that
of
in
realism.
New York,
yeah.
but it was more. New York felt like more of a scene place. It felt like, oh yeah, it feels like New York City, And I had some bits where I'm like, oh yeah, I've been here, but LA, I think more so.
The bloody Saddle Ranch is in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Saddle Ranch
it's
is
called
in there.
Spit Roasters.
Oh man,
Our hotel where we stayed at this year's E3 is in there. If you'd like to go and
Is it
visit
really?
Yeah, it's not cool what it was called, but I went to see it. How sad is that? Ooh, let's go and look at the
Is
hotel.
the
we stayed
convention
in.
centre in there and all
No,
that?
because that's to do with the licensing, isn't it?
I don't know.
Like the Staples Centre's not there either because
There's nothing
But-
to reflect that. There's no.
I'll tell you what is in there, and this nearly caused a problem. Well, I'm surprised my girlfriend didn't say anything more about it. There's a very famous, infamous strip club.
Oh god,
Called
the Body Shop.
The Body Shop. Now I've never been in the Body Shop.
Whatever.
But I do.
Whatever.
I haven't. But trust me, I've got a
believe you.
picture of. Oh, this is so pathetic. I've got a picture of me and someone else like planking outside of it because there was a guy sitting outside.
Bet you loved it at the time. You
There
were
was a
there
guy
like,
sitting outside of the Body Shop and he was blessing people as they walked past. And so we were like, what's the most ridiculous picture we can get? So planking with a guy blessing. So
Amazing.
Anyway, so I switched to Franklin and Franklin just walks out of the Body Shop.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lydia, get in here. Come and check this out. And I went into Facebook. I was
God.
like, I've got these pictures. Look, this is the Chateau Marmont. This is, and there's
The
this is a
Shop.
world famous strip club.
there's that, that food place.
It's
that's
my
like a
favourite strip
train.
club in a game.
Yeah. And she
Look,
was like,
darling.
What's you standing outside of a strip club? What's this picture of you? I was like,
I did not go in the strip club. Rubbish.
yeah, I'm just outside of it. But those little moments.
Because honestly,
they
that's
recreate
always a
brilliant.
believable lie, isn't it? I
was
didn't
just
go in.
outside
I was just walking past.
No one
And
actually
somebody
ever
snapped
goes
a
in.
picture of me.
Yeah. So it's a picture of me
That
with a man blessing.
That is the best thing about it. It's just, even if you haven't been there, you'll still appreciate the city. But when you can actually imagine yourself being in a digital world, I mean, it sounds sad almost, but it's just, there's something quirky about it and there's something, fun. I don't know what it is, but it's,
I'm really looking forward to taking my time with it actually and just having fun with it. It seems like it's massive.
It's
but,
massive. I mean, the story is huge for, a story. I mean, I do really enjoy it and it's very good at keeping you interested and intrigued. And it's also good at sort of, something that happened a few days ago, probably last week, no, definitely last week. There's one moment where Trevor does something. That's all I'll say. And two things, actually. One's quite well documented online. We're not going to talk about that here. But there's another one that people haven't talked about, which I actually think is on par. Where, and they do this with all the characters, but obviously because Trevor's are far more shocking and, dare I say it, controversial, they kind of stick in the memory longer. And you kind of just walk away going, my gosh, I'm in control of this man. And he just did that within the realms of this. And it's fascinating. It's really good. And the dichotomy between the three is brilliant. Like the way they fall out with each other, the way they like each other, the way they ask for each other's help, the way you can then use those three in the missions to jump around. And, you kind of have your GTA experience when you've got your individual ones, but then you can muck around with all those kind of three. And it never really falls down. I mean, I can't think of a bad word to say about it, really, if I'm honest.
Well, I'm sure people will. I reckon we've got about 3 or 4 days before people start to go, wow, that's a bit disappointing because of this.
I'm sure the opening I'm finding a little bit underwhelming. I think the first couple of hours are quite slow. The Franklin stuff.
See, I didn't agree with that.
drags
I loved all of that. I thought that was awesome because I was just enjoying just being in that world and experience. I like the slow burn.
The mission design seems very similar to previous.
Well, I read somewhere
GTAs.
that I read somebody who said that basically they kind of felt like Franklin's early missions were almost a kind of joke nod to the mission structure of previous GTA games.
Yeah, I think that
I'm
could
not
be an
sure if
argument.
that's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You could argue that. I don't know if I didn't pick up on that, but I think you could argue that. I mean, I also think it builds. GTA 5 build, which is ridiculous because it's such a long game. But, you know, once you're at... And everyone is going to play it for 15 hours. Let's not pretend that we're not. And it's still really good before that. But once you start doing the heists and the three-way stuff, then it starts going, right, this is GTA 5. And, yeah, it's just... I think it's... All the heists are just... There's not a bad heist.
Wasn't that the opposite of what happened with GTA 4? Didn't people start to kind of lose...
I lost interest, yeah. I mean, I played it for about 25, 30 hours, and I loved it. And then I hit the point where the radio started repeating all the time. I'd seen all the TV shows. I'd seen all the jokes. I'd heard all of the quips from passerbys and stuff. And as soon as the world... at that point, the world became a little bit less real because I felt like the world was false. And then all I had was the actual game and the missions, and I found that incredibly frustrating. But it seems like the checkpointing was all I wanted. Don't make me drive for 10 minutes again and again.
They definitely don't do that. And also the mission... I mean, there's in past GTAs... Obviously, I know it's different because I reviewed this one, but I didn't get the same sensation. I would always stop for a while. San Andreas stands out a mile. I remember I stopped for about 3 months because I was stuck on a mission. I thought I need to rest, and then other things happened. But then eventually I went back and I persevered and I got my way through it. I haven't felt that with this one once. There were some missions that I got frustrated at because they were difficult, but there hasn't been one mission where I think I would have gone, I'm leaving this for a bit.
Well, you can generally switch.
You can skip missions as well.
And you can skip missions.
So
it's far more user friendly. But when you were speaking about Red Dead earlier, because you're saying a lot of that stuff came over from Red Dead.
You can see it, yeah.
But there's a great moment. And I'm not sure if it correlates exactly, but it really reminded me of something in Red Dead. You know, in Red Dead Redemption, there's a moment when you kind of come over from the homestead where you start the game, and you take a big looping path all the way from the top of what seems like a mountain into a valley. And you go all the way down, and you look over this vast expanse. It's the first time you really see how big the world is. Yeah. Well, there's a real sense of that happening exactly again with Trevor when you drive him into the city for the first time.
It's true. It's
and you
massive,
come around the same road, and there's the same lipped bit, and he gets out of the car and looks onto the same expanse, but now it's LA, and he goes, yeah, look at it, and it's lovely. It seems like a massive callback to that in Red Dead Redemption, and it's absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm most excited
done.
about, actually, is because I like GTA, but I find it a little bit claustrophobic sometimes. My favourite moments were when I got a helicopter and just started roaming above the city and listening to Phil Collins and stuff.
Oh man, you'll love this thing.
But yeah, I like the dense urban stuff, but sometimes I just sort of think it'd be nice to just sort of get some space and just go for a cruise.
The way it's also naturally done as well, because you can obviously drive 10 minutes in a straight line and go from downtown to sort of, you know, country-esque thing.
Well,
it doesn't feel jarring.
I'm sold. I'm sold. This video game sounds like a lot of fun.
It's the fifth one as well, surprisingly.
I should probably go and play the first four.
Maybe
catch up on the story.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Amazing. I'm going to look forward to playing. And obviously, we are going to do a kind of. This has obviously been quite spoiler-free. Hopefully, otherwise, give us a slap on the wrist. But we will be doing a big spoiler cast of GTA 5
because there's definitely those two scenes that I think will cause some controversy. I would like to chat about because I probably think I fall down on a different side of the fence.
So we might even come back on later in the week and do something depending on how far we all get and who gets far. But we'll definitely do something, if not the end of this week, then start next week. So do keep an eye out for that. Moving on to other games that are equally we're talking about frustration from GTA 4. I've been playing 2 games this week that have been very frustrating. I'll go through them quite quickly. One of them is Volgar the Viking, which was a Kickstarter game based on being like, it's like games used to be. It's an arcade game when games used to be hard. It's bollocks. It's absolute bollocks because it is exactly like games used to be in the fact that it's incredibly frustrating, not mechanically brilliantly made, too simplistic, and vastly based on trial and error. So don't go anywhere near that because it's just boring as hell.
Who made it?
It's a studio. It's not a,
not
no
a
name
like,
studio really.
Right.
Well, just a group of devs who were like, hey, we're going to make a game like games used to be. But I went back and read the Kickstarter page and it was like a classic game but with a modern and it was like, well, no, there's nothing modern about it. Like, there's no unlocks, there's no, and I love it when you get that, when you get like games that bring back old school game mechanics but then freshen them up with some, it's like
bringing it into the new era, so to speak.
You know, there's a lot of purists who are like, oh, games used to be better. Games should be like they used to be. And it's like, no, you're wrong. And there are things that we've lost about games that are important. But you completely ignoring everything that we've learned about game design for the past 20 years is just fucking stupid. Like, to literally just go, I don't care about anything that's happened for 20 years. I'm going to make this game as if we don't know. It's just like, you know what? If that's what you want out of your gaming, just literally like some sort of nostalgic tint in your eyes, then you're a fucking moron.
Ignoring what's all the developments made, it just strikes me as being similar to that Simpsons episode of all things, where they have the idol, the angel, and everyone becomes really religious. And I think the angel fought, and everyone's like, we're rejecting everything, like modern. The angel falls on Mo, and the first thing he says is, oh, my spine, I hope medical science can save it. It's like, because you want it to be like, as you remember when you were a kid. Then you play and go, oh yeah, that was...
it's true.
Everyone's like, let's remake Old Beast. Beast is shit!
It's the thing is, it's basically like there are some bits like the jumping isn't quite precise enough. Sometimes you get stuck on scene. You get all these little things that like you look at and go, this is a bit of a glitch. There was a couple of little glitchy things, but this used to be the stuff that you just accept because games were like that. And a lot of it, it's just like, it's a side scroller, you can swing a sword, you collect armor, and it's like ghouls and goblins basically. When you collect armor, each one is a hit you can take, but enemies just like they keep respawning if you don't keep pressing forward, so they'll keep coming forward. A lot of the time they jump down from places. It is just trial and error to go through the stage and make sure you don't get hit by memorizing where the enemies come from. But you know what, there was a reason for why that happened, right? The reason that they used to make games like that was because of memory restrictions.
Well, that's the thing, the technology wasn't up to par.
You could only make a game with like 20 screens in it or something, so the way you do that would be making it hard, so you just have to keep doing it. It's an absolutely obsolete way of making games. But anyway, I saw a screenshot of it and I saw a video and thought, that looks like awesome fun, I'm going to play it. I played it and I thought, this is dick. So there we are, Volgar the Viking, don't bother.
It's like when it was Tales in Time they put on Xbox Live Arcade, and the Tales arcade game, both of them. And you think, I'm so excited, and you play and went, boring.
Well, there's literally only one attack button to this. I mean, you can throw spears by pressing up and attack, and there may be some unlockables later, but really, who's got time for that? And on that note, another game I do not have time for, and I kind of was very angry about.
This is interesting, though, this one. I'm interested by this.
It's Goddess. Now, Goddess by 22 Cans, obviously Peter Molyneux's company. He's left Lionhead to make his own games. He's done a lot of talk about this, a lot of talk about what it's going to be. And actually, the game it resembles most is it's like a cross between Populous and Curiosity. Now, it's like Curiosity.
It's not actually like Curiosity.
No, it is. It is.
Oh, we hadn't had that conversation. I did not know this.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll explain this. Basically, Populous, for those who don't know, is a classic God game. It invented the God game. So that's where Molyneux got his badges for. It's not incredible. I played Populous.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
Shut up. It was incredible.
It was.
At the time. Yeah. But I went back to play Populous a couple of years ago because I was doing a radio show about God games, right? And I played it, and all you do in that game, right? You can do earthquakes and shit, but all you do, the way to win that game is you make everything really flat, right? And then you make everything really flat, and then they build castles. And by building castles, you win. And that's how you win that game. It's basically, you are the god of Milton Keynes. So I'm reading a joke.
Roundabouts.
But that's all you do is you make things flat. And actually, it kind of takes away the magic of being a god, because you realise that actually you're not a god, you're a caretaker. And that's where God games can kind of feel too much like Sims, basically.
That sounds like the plot of an indie movie that would really strike it big at the Oscars, where God is bored of his power. Yeah. All right, I'm off. I'm going to
get that pen. But so it's a bit like that in the fact that all you do is you instead of being grids, it's all like rounded and nice. And I've got to say, it looks lovely. The audio design is beautiful. The art style is lovely. But all you do is you stretch out the land like a pizza. Actually, it's a lot like making a pizza. And then they pop up with new toppings, i.e. houses. Bear with me. But all you do is click on stuff. That's it, right? The whole game is you click on stuff. That's it. That's the game.
What happens when you click on stuff?
Right, so what happens is you click on... there's a timer on every house, and a purple orb appears.
A timer?
A timer, yeah. Well, you don't see the timers.
Okay.
You know how in like Plants vs. Zombies, right? You get those little pop-ups like the little sunshine things that drop down from the screen. You click on them and you get more money.
Right, yeah.
That works in Plants vs. Zombie because that's a tiny addition to the game in the original one. I haven't played the sequel. Which gives you a kind of like, oh yeah, I've got 10 more. Now I can build that plan. Mm-hmm. Imagine if that was the entire Plants vs. Zombies, just clicking on orbs.
So you build your houses, you build them, right?
You don't build them. The
Right.
people build stuff, right?
Did you tell the people to build them?
No, you stretch out the land so it creates. If you stretch out the land and make it flat, it will create a blueprint area, right? And then a house can go there. Then a little flag will appear on one of your houses that you've already built. You click on that one, and it will send a man out who will go and build the house. There are no resources for building; they just build them.
Oh no, resource is the best
But
bit.
the resource you do have is belief, and the belief resource comes from these pink orbs that appear above all of your houses. And it's basically just all you do is you spend the pink stuff to stretch out the land so that the people can build more houses, so you can have more pink orbs appearing above the houses, right? Long story short, it's fucking Farmville, right? It is Farmville.
Sounds like
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I don't know how to respond to this.
I know there's a lot of disappointment, but
But
I cannot believe that we've kickstarted. I didn't, because I don't really trust Molyneux, to be honest. And I've been saying I've been saying on the podcast a lot, right, that I think that Molyneux leaving might be good for the Fable series. I still don't think that will fix the Fable series, but for a long time I've suspected.
Legends looks quite good.
Well, I've
I quite
suspected
like it.
that his influence has had a damaging effect on it in terms of simplicity, because he seems to think that games being more inclusive means genuinely dumbing them down to a level that is almost offensive. And Goddess is that. There's no right click. There's no right click.
See,
There's no menus. You literally just use one button. You just click.
I find that bizarre because obviously the whole point of it, or what I took from it, I'm not saying it was correct, was I'm back. I'm going back to what brought me to the dance, and I'm going to update it for 2013. Farmville is not that game. Like, if you like Farmville, fair enough, but that's not what I want from a Peter Molyneux project. I mean, on a personal level, I hate Farmville. I think Farmville is the scum of everything. I just don't get it. But, people like it, which is good, but I don't think we should be making...
Well, I mean, actually, it's not fair to say it's Farmville. It's more like Tiny Tower in the fact that it's the same bollocks wrapped up in a much nicer wrapper. It's just... I mean, I've had suspicions for many years that Molyneux... and I've got to say, I love Molyneux. I think he's a great speaker. I think he's a great force for British development. I think he's a great ideas man. However, I don't think he's a good game designer. And I think that actually, rather than this being like his triumphant escape and being like, look, I'm finally free of the shackles of all this stuff, I could make brilliant games again, it's actually just highlighted the fact that he's not a good game designer.
He needs that, what's it called? When you put someone through something or other to stop their creative madness.
Blender.
He needs someone to put him through the blender.
Put in a blender.
But basically, he needs his ideas to be curbed, maybe.
I think he does, and I think this is, again, what we've talked about this a lot in the past, is the fact that when you have individuals with too much creative control, especially when they're the spokespeople, it's the same with everything, same with politics and stuff. If you give the people who are good spokespeople all of the control, that's not necessarily a good idea, because the best spokespeople aren't always the best designers.
Yeah, you've got to play to your strengths.
Molyneux's got a history of going off topic, and basically, anecdotally, this is one of the best examples of that is from another journo friend of mine who was interviewing him and the journo was in Bournemouth and he was on the phone, and their seagull squawked in the background, and Molyneux chuntering away like, and they went, "Where are you?" The guy went, what? He's like, "I'm in the office." He was like, "But where is your office?" He was like, it's in Bournemouth. He was like, "The seaside." I thought so. He just carried on. I can imagine him in his design shoot.
He'd made a game in his head already.
Wait a minute.
Seaside.
Just going, just being completely distracted.
It all makes sense. Well, I don't know. I mean, this feels very focused to me. It doesn't feel distracted.
It's a finished game, right?
It's a beta.
That's a beta.
So,
okay.
and
but
actually,
still, they're not going to change the core. Well, they may do. Who knows?
if you're listening to us now,
the opening level.
It's kind of hard to explain, and I know it sounds flippant if you just say it's just clicking on things, but it is just clicking on things and then waiting for other things to appear, so you click on things. Obviously, there are people as well. The people will die if you don't look after them, but then you do that. Guess by how you do that?
Clicking on them?
You click on them. It's just a game where, honestly, I thought I was going to get RSI. I played it for about an hour, right? I made a video, which was me for 20 minutes. It was going to be a nice video. Basically, the idea was that because you can't restart your game once you start it, right? It just keeps going, which means loads of people who've tried to make videos of it have played it for an hour and then thought, right, I've got the idea of this now. I'll make a video, start again, and realise they can't. So I was going to be clever and have a video where it's like, me playing it right from the start in little 5-minute gaps and going, here's 5 minutes later. But the capture went wrong. And I was angry about that, and I was so angry about the game that I've just made another version of the video. It should be up now, which is basically a kind of turbo gameplay verdict, which is what I think it got us in 2.5 minutes and shows you exactly why it's rubbish.
Fine.
Sounds like Black and Shite.
Black and Shite. I like that.
I don't like the fact there's no resources. They're my favourite thing about all those games. I like wood, metal, and...
People.
There's another one. I can't
Religion. Jesus.
All right, you've gone well off topic, but it's a shame. That actually genuinely upsets
has
me.
an obsession with streamlining and simplicity, which goes beyond the pale. and goes to the point where things get damaged. And that's what happened, I think. And I've been saying this for a while, and I'm actually, to be honest, this game kind of, I feel like I've been proven right by it, is what happened and what went wrong with Fable 3. And the fact that Fable 2's ability, the wheel of like things you could do to interact with people, that system of hold down a trigger and then choose from a wheel what you want to do, was perfect. It was one of the most perfect interaction systems for crowd interaction, which is what you want in Fable, has ever been made by any game.
Fable 2 was great.
The fact that they then scrapped the most perfect element of their game for Fable 3, in which you just pressed a button to do something nice or a button to do something nasty and had no agency over what you did, you just did something nice or something nasty, felt like... it was like, why? Like... But I think he treats casual gamers as idiots, and I think that's a really dangerous thing to do because, you know, my first job in the industry, I worked in market research. I've talked about this before. This is the early podcast if you want to know more. But basically, you know, the industry treated 9-year-old girls as if they were idiots, and it backfired because they weren't. They didn't know the lingo, but they were smart. They could understand smarter games than the industry gave credit for.
That's always the way we think of Mario, isn't it? Like Mario 64 is not you have to have some sense of intelligence to understand how it works. But kids did. Kids worked it out. Kids loved it.
It's intuitive, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that Molyneux's approach to these games of making everything like so handholdy and so simple. In the idea of being, and I don't believe it's insidious. I think he genuinely thinks he is being inclusive. I think he's just making incredibly boring tat.
Well.
And I mean, my mum plays loads of she loves Plants vs Zombies. Plants vs Zombies is not a difficult game, but it's not a simple game either. There's a lot to it. It's strategy. You know,
it's a real-time strategy. Well, not really, but you know, it's almost like Advanced Wars, kind of. Yeah,
it's hard to fail, but there's stuff to it.
Yeah.
And she's a really, really casual gamer, and she got into this stuff when literally, like, when you boil it down, he's obsessed with boiling it down to like single buttons. Ubisoft have an obsession with boiling things down to like the body and using the 4 face buttons on the controller to be like the head, the arms, and the feet and stuff. And that's kind of simplicity to a level that works. But this is just, he's obsessed with one button. And that's why the Fable's combat was always one button, and that kind of worked. But here he has literally condensed an entire game to one mouse
Is it an
button.
iOS game as well?
I think it is, yeah. And I think that's the thing is, if you play it on an iPad whilst you're watching TV and you literally just move around tapping on things, it might be quite entertaining. But to be honest,
there was that game like that. What was that game that everyone did? They watched TV and they did just touch the screen.
Curiosity?
No, there's another one.
Was it Tiny Tower?
Maybe, I can't remember. But anyway, so maybe that's it is. Maybe that's...
I think maybe that's what he's gone for. But to be honest, Peter Molyneux, who's supposed to be one of the brightest brains...
Yeah, you want
Britain
something a bit more
in
innovative.
And he's made a game that you log on to every hour or so and tap on things for 10 minutes. Just fuck off. Like,
hey, look, bollocks.
I'm sorry, he's been... In my mind now, he's in the bloody Suda 51 boat. Like, he's supposed to be this legendary game designer, and it's like, you know what?
Matt's ever-increasing boat.
Well, no, I'm sorry, right? But we've got some people in this industry who have, like, huge respect, and now people are on their own and making smaller projects and smaller games. We can't... How long are we going to pretend that Molyneux is this visionary game designer? I mean, Curiosity was like an interesting
my private yacht. Come on.
I'll push it out to sea, right? I'll push it out to sea, but they'll be full of wildfire. And they'll fire one fiery arrow, and then the whole fleet will burn. And
then Molyneux
will be the king.
Molyneux will find a way to make a game out of that using one button, and you'd be like, damn it.
I don't know. I just think, honestly, it's something where it's like, really? I think, in my mind, he's got to pull something out of his arse quite quickly, otherwise... It's going to be like, nah, mate, you're not a legendary game designer anymore. You made some good stuff back in the day, but now you're sort of in the Jeff Minter barrel of people who've sort of maybe gone a bit past their date.
Milo. Get Milo out your
Get
arse.
Milo. Milo's dead. He fell down some stairs. Everyone knows that. We should push on. I'm going to briefly steal your news cannon, Dave. Is that all right?
Before we do that, can we just do literally 1 minute? Literally, don't say more. But say Wind Waker HD is lovely.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely lovely, beautiful, wonderful. I mean, don't play it if you don't like Wind Waker, but you know, if you liked Wind Waker and if you haven't played it for a long time as well, just getting to replay it again when it looks all, you know, sparkly and lovely it's just wonderful. It's a lovely, beautiful, incredible game.
What do you think about the art style? Because I've heard that it's different.
Is this a conversation from 2003?
I've heard it's not like the other Zelda games.
Do you mean?
No, I mean that the way they've made it HD, right? The way they've given those edges clarity, apparently makes it look a bit more 3D and a bit less like a painting.
Yes, I agree with that. That is true.
What do you reckon?
But, I'd agree with that. I would say it does look. It looks less like someone has hand drawn it with a paintbrush.
I want your opinion. Do you like it?
I do like it though. That's the thing. I think it just. I mean, I played Wind Waker loads, so it's not like I don't have those memories. And to see it all just glistening on an HD television, because it still has that original effect that it did. I think I need to caveat I'm a massive Zelda fanboy, but the fact to see it glistening, you know, and just looking so good, And then it plays fantastically. I mean, people forget that, you know, Wind Waker was supposed to be this Zelda game that then took them all in a different direction. They were all going to look like this, but then the internet decided they didn't like it, and that changed everything. And hence why Twilight Princess ended up looking, you know, angry and serious. But it just plays so well, and it has so much character because it's sort of quote unquote hand drawn. So, you know, Link's face and the way that changes, and the way the kind of the sword swipes that you see, you know, like the cartoon sort of white lines and stuff. And to see all that moving, the animation,
explosions in that game.
That's the thing; they look so good,
so cool.
Like no real explosion is ever going to look as good as that, because that's, you know, that's been thought out and adapted to this style. So, you know, just play it if you like
a bomb full of cinnamon.
It was.
I think it's my favourite Zelda, Wind Waker.
Oh,
so
just if you've got a Wii U and you think you need something
I might
to play
have to get that.
Just play it. It looks great, and it's a fantastic game. It's unfortunately though, it's another one of those Wii U games. It's great for people that have got Wii U's, but it's not going to sell Wii U's.
Yeah. It feels like it's £10 too much. If
Well,
it's $29.99.
it just feels like if they'd done Skyward Sword in HD, I would have got it, because I haven't played Skyward Sword, and because it came too late. But we talked about this before.
But yeah, Wind Waker actually. If you've got some pocket money left over from GTA, maybe pick it up.
Another one briefly, actually. Did we talk about Eldritch last week?
I wasn't on the podcast last week, so I don't know.
Did we talk about it? I don't think we did. I think it's that late in the week. All right, well, I'll keep it really brief just in case I did. But Eldritch is coming out next month, I believe, October. We got access to a little beta of it. I think the beta's going open in September, which is this month. It's amazing. Really, 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 really good. It's a kind of 3D roguelike. It looks like Minecraft style graphics, but it's a lot of people go, oh, another game looks like Minecraft. It's got a really defined atmosphere and art style that really gives it a sense of place, and it feels unique, and it's just really, really, really good.
It's very impressive.
It's basically there's a video both on the website and on YouTube. So if you just go and type Eldritch, it's ELDRITCH, and you'll be able to watch it. So we play it for about 20 minutes, and even like you were just watching, and Simon, you're quite entranced. I
appreciate those games, but they wouldn't be my sort of go-to. But it was fantastic, like really, genuinely, very impressive.
And yeah, I mean, I've only played a bit of it, but I really rate it. It's the sort of game, basically, at the moment, no one's really talking about that much, but I get the impression when it gets close to the launch, it's going to be a game that a lot of people have been talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
So I definitely get ahead of the curve. And actually, the beta is really, really playable at the moment. So it might be worth keeping an eye on when that goes live, because then you can get early access and play it.
I agree.
It's bloody scary as well, even though it's got cartoon graphics.
Oh, no, the atmosphere is...
The thing is, like, everyone's
horrendous.
like, oh, I don't like the art style, it's a bit too childish. And yeah, I kind of agree. A lot of the monsters look quite cartoony. But I'm glad they don't look horrible, because I find it bloody terrifying.
Yeah.
And final thing to sell it on is the fact that it's got one of the enemies are the enemies from Doctor Who in the episode Blink, i.e. the statues that basically, if the statues are looking at you and then you turn your back, then they come and get you.
Dr. Boo.
It's which is an amazing idea. Dr. Boo. He's full of it today, aren't you?
I'm just on him.
You're just on it.
You are full of it today.
I'm just chilling out.
Full of
I like
beans.
it.
That Scammell is full of beans. There's not a lot of news this week, but I'm going to take Dave's
go for it. Feel free.
news cannon and fire it back in his face. I think most important news this week is the fact that Blizzard are getting rid of the Diablo 3 auction house in March.
That's mad. I thought that's what why did they get rid of it? I thought people loved it, and it was like,
no one loved it.
I thought that was the whole point of Diablo 3.
You've been living in Bizarro land.
I just don't play Diablo, that's the thing.
No, that's fair enough. But basically, it's. I think it's really important for a simple reason: the fact that it was something they added because they can make a little extra buck off of it. But loads of people who were Diablo fans hated it, because when you add an online infrastructure and an economy to a game, it changes the game, and it means that you're not just getting fun loot and treasure at a rate that's pleasurable. You're getting it to fit in with an economy.
Yeah.
Like in World of Warcraft, where it's like
in real life.
Yeah, like in real life, and there's an allure to that and an appeal
Real life
to it.
shit.
But real life is shit. Absolutely.
That's all
The
right.
Video Gamer Podcast.
It's all right. 6 out of 10, I'd say. Promising, but
What, for life?
too many obvious
Jeez.
flaws. Too many obvious flaws.
Let's
I think it needs
let's
balancing.
not get
It does.
people down.
Expert balancing. That's what
There's
life
no
needs.
sense of character progression. You work for years, and obviously character progression is so slow that you never really feel like anything's changing.
And also,
I still feel like I'm level 2.
it's got the main problem that all free-to-play games have: pay to win. You know?
Absolutely. Pay to win. I just love Dave Scammell, level 2 at life.
And now I'm being fucking kickstarted. It doesn't get worse.
Yeah, I'll briefly mention that now.
Anyway.
Actually, our competition goes on. The Member of the Month competition this month is to do a Kickstarter for Dave or kickstart something from Dave's perspective that is the sort of thing he'd likely kickstart. Somebody, it's a mental competition description, I know, but somebody's already done a Google Doc, which is basically a massive Google Doc.
I'm yet to see
explaining
this, but quite
Dave
excited.
Scammell, the board game with all the rules and stuff. It's very
Which we'll have to
impressive.
play, I guess.
We'll have to
make
have a go,
and
yeah.
play.
But,
With Diablo, quickly, why March?
March, well, I don't know. They haven't announced when there's basically an
Financial
expansion
years?
pack.
Yeah.
No, there's an expansion pack coming out as well. I think
All right,
it's
so
more
it
about
could,
that.
it could be entwined. We are right.
Basically, they've released the console version of it without the auction house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the console version sold terribly well because it's just not something console gamers that interested in. But I think they've realised, and this is why it's important, right? Blizzard are a huge company, and they're part of Activision Blizzard. That they are an entity that are money. That's how they work. That's how all companies work. Fair enough. But for them to actually take a step back and go, you know what, we made a mistake with this. It's
That's
kind of a
good, yeah.
substantial thing.
Yeah.
They're switching it off in March. I'm assuming that will be before or around the time. It'll definitely be before, in fact, because I reckon basically what it means is they've gone, let's try and fix it. They make an expansion with new items and new cool stuff and make it like classic Diablo. I'm really excited by it because Diablo 2 is a game I played for years after launch because it was just so fun and so well balanced that you could just dip into it and play. But now it kind of feels like it's just people farming gold so they can buy items. You can't buy anything. The idea was supposed to be that you would buy good stuff on the auction house, but the auction house is so dominated by people who play it all the time that the prices are out of the reach of anyone who doesn't play it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these examples of why single-player games shouldn't be online just because it's cool. And that's basically all the media at the time said, this is a bad idea. I don't like the always online stuff. I don't like the auction house. And yeah, it's just kind of awesome that they actually, I think it gives me hope for the future of games, basically, because at the moment, stuff like Goddess and stuff like Diablo, you kind of think, oh God, it's all going shit. It's all like always online bollocks.
This is the most down negative podcast
No,
ever.
it's not.
now.
It's not because this is
We gave life 6 out of 10.
yeah, but life is bollocks, mate.
No, we're going to
Constant
scale our
disappointment.
reviews. Our reviews will scale up and down like SimCity.
All right, fair
Yeah,
enough.
so life might be an 8 next week.
Depending what happens.
Mate, I've got a fucking swollen
you're right.
eye.
Your life is
My
6
life
out
is
of
a
10.
4
Yeah,
this
that
week.
is sore. That's a sore eye.
Bollocks. But yeah, it's given me hope because basically, if you can have a company of that size and scale,
they realise, yeah, it's
openly
good.
admit, you know what, you guys don't want this, so we're
We'll
going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Makes me kind of think, you know what, maybe games aren't fucked. So yeah, that's the news story for this week, and we should probably do some questions. Let's do some questions.
I want question 1. What do you think about life? Well, we covered that. So we can...
Shit.
I've got questions. Anyone got a couple of quid?
What?
Mate, I owe you some money, so yeah, definitely.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I owe
Why?
you money as well, Dave.
Why do you
knows
need
me.
£2?
Oh, it's just coming up to lunchtime.
Oh, okay. Actually, while we've been
question,
doing,
Dave.
we'll talk about this more next week on the podcast. But while we've been here, the embargo has lifted. If you go to VideoGamer.com now, you can see that amazingly, PES 2014 scored a 9 out of 10.
I don't understand.
That's all we're going to say, and we'll get back to this next week when FIFA's out in the wild as well. But there you go, football
My
fans.
like to say
God,
more.
football. Ba, ba, ba. Sorry.
So yeah,
Here we have a couple of questions here. Some good ones here. That's what we got. Free Kill asks, would you accept the offer to go to any game world at any time using, say, a magic remote? Question mark. I like the detail there. The catch is, though, that you cannot hop back into reality. Only other game worlds.
Do I
no,
get a choice?
definitely.
Oh.
There's Quantum Leap for game worlds.
Yeah, do I get a choice of which game worlds I go to once I'm in the game world? There's not Quantum Leap where all of a sudden I get thrown out into...
Basically, you can go into any game world you want at
No, I
will
wouldn't
and
do
change
it.
between them, but you can never come back to reality.
No, definitely
I'd
not.
definitely do it. I'd live in Pokemon land.
Pokemon Land.
Come on, guys.
I want to go to Green Hill Zone, but then I'd hate Chemical Plant. That'd be shit.
But then you could leave. You could go to another one, Dave.
I'd drown in fruit and barley. Pink.
I'm not sure you're but what about when you run out of? I guess there are a lot of
Well, no,
game
'cause
worlds. You're
there
not
are
gonna
so
run
many
out.
game
Do you have to
worlds.
stay in the game world for a specific amount of time?
No,
or-
you've got a magic remote. Using, say, a magic remote, it says.
So if I go into the world of WWE, is it confined to what you can do in WWE games?
You live in the world of WWE
So-
already.
well, yeah. So I wouldn't be.
No,
I wouldn't.
This is honestly the criteria for this is quite simple, Simon. You can go to any game worlds you want.
No, but am I confined? So in the WWE in real life,
Yeah.
WWE superstars do signings and they drive everywhere. But in the games, it's just in arenas. So are you just in
So
the
basically-
arenas, or do
basically,
you do the rest of it?
Your answer to this is no until they make some sort of MMORPG version
mean
of
that, no.
wrestling,
I just-
where you can basically be a wrestler.
Well, no, because it works. I could be in guitar and Metallica, and I could just be in Metallica. That'd be good.
Yeah, precisely. You could
I don't
do
think
that.
I'd do it though. No,
I'd do the Pokemon thing.
How long would you have to be there for?
Well, forever.
That's your choice,
You can't
though.
come
That's
back
the
to the real
thing, yeah.
world.
Your choice. I'll probably do it.
I'd do it. Yeah, cool. What about you, Steve?
No, probably not. I'm hopeful that when they patch life, it'll be better than any other game world.
Nice.
I'd go to Sonic 2006, and then I'd get off with some random princess.
As a hedgehog.
Bestiality,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, that's what.
That's
Would
pretty
you
hot.
be? Would you be a hedgehog? Say if you jumped into Sonic, would
Yeah,
you
would
just
you
be
be
a
you?
man cutting around?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to get off with a woman, there'd be better games. This has got weird.
I'd rather try as a hedgehog. Something new in it.
Next question.
The best games for getting off with ladies are
Top 10
please look at
games.
my top 10 list on n4j.com. Here's a
800
question.
degrees.
This is a question that'd be higher than that,
Yeah.
mate. If I wrote that today, I swear it'd be like 10,000.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the internet's depressing. Garviel asks, what do you think of the general unfinished state of Rome 2? Worst in series AI, technical problems, broken naval combat, and half-finished mechanics.
Well, I can only go off what Brad has told me. He told me it's really good.
Bratis said it was really good, but Bratis is probably wrong. Also, he says, and what do you
Brad is
think-
never wrong.
and what do you think caused it?
They
I
say
reckon
it every time. They said it wouldn't.
Time and money, or the
time
lack
and money.
of.
Yeah, absolutely. Development problems.
Yeah.
That's
but,
it.
but the fact they say it's unacceptable. Well, yeah.
You worked
is.
on it, Burns.
Not Rome, but they say it every time, and everyone just goes, "Oh no, the next one will be better." Well, don't fucking buy it. Then.
Well,
Like,
you know,
everyone
I don't
bought
know.
it, and they're already patching it now. It's already
Exactly.
happening. They're
I mean,
patching
to be
every
honest,
week until
like-
I
the
do think
review.
it's unacceptable.
I think
but
I don't know. I
haven't
mean,
played it, so I don't know the
is,
extent of it.
But that's the same thing. At the same time, when everyone on the internet was saying SimCity has killed my children, I was playing SimCity and thinking, you know what, it's a bit broken, but I bloody love this game. I had a really good time with SimCity.
Did you really?
I played it for about 30 hours, and then I got bored with it. But
That's
those
fair
30 hours, I was really having a good time. So, yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway,
Each
but that
their
made
own.
me evil. Niall Pudding says, hello, after watching you play Delver and Eldritch, I was wondering if you had any turn-based traditional roguelikes.
Not a question for me.
Yeah, I'd recommend...
WWE.
What's it called? Dungeons of Dreadmore. Dungeons of Dreadmore is great fun. Oh, this is called Cam Sage. Favourite quote from a game?
Oh, that's different. I don't. Are there? Wake me when you need me.
Oh,
was
that is
bollocks.
terrible.
That was bollocks.
One that I like because it's incredibly stupid is from the end of of any Metal Gear Solid quote, which are all incredibly stupid. But there's one where there's a cutscene where Solidus Snake slices up about 4 or 5 Metal Gear Rays, then he shoots one in the head with just a normal bullet and it dies, and then he just goes, "Damn the Patriots!" It doesn't make any sense. Like his mask kind of clips off as he says it, like, and that is the ultimate kind of either 14-year-old or 50-year-old game designer
Yeah.
of what is cool. It just made me piss myself.
That's a really interesting question because games don't really breed.
All your base
quotes.
belong to us.
No, but
Well, that's the
everyone has something that, I don't know, I mean, mine, it's not really a favourite. I'm kind of twisting the question here. Is one that's like stuck in your memory the most. And mine is from Little Big Adventure 2 on the PC, which was there was I believe, a fox on a flying carpet in the desert, and you'd have to buy a wizard's cloak from him, and you couldn't, and he'd say, "My dear sir, my goods are only available to fully licensed wizards." And for some reason, that soundbite, and very little about the rest of that game, apart from the fact that it was based on a dictatorship run by sausages, I don't remember anything else about that game.
Well,
What you're selling, what you're buying.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
and Guybrush Threepwood having a problem with porcelain and shuddering every time he said it. That sticks in my head. I don't know if I liked it or not, but that's the first thing that jumped into my head. So there
There's
you
a
go.
question for you, Steve. What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
There we go. That's the right answer.
That's the correct answer. 6 points. 6 points.
A door just opened and someone's about to let me into it and pass the test.
I can't read this question. Sorry, somebody called
was gonna say-
Spock21 has written a question, but it's like 2 paragraphs, and my eye is swollen, so I'm not going to read
But
it.
we love you, Spock.
Can't read it
What would they
because
say?
of my
What was the
funny
Vulcan? What did
eye.
Vulcan say to each
Beam me
other?
up, Scotty.
No, that's not what Vulcans say
Sex
to
me
each
up,
other.
Scotty.
Oh.
More like, yeah.
I don't know. Star
Okay.
Trek.
So Skadoosh says, why, on consoles, in brackets, are the prices for digital copies of games verging on the ludicrous? For example, Tomb Raider and Call of Duty Boy, which I believe is supposed to be Black Ops 2, on PSN are £60. I know people should think that they should be cheaper as there's no media or shipping, but in reality, bandwidth charges on CDM for the download would be comparable to shipping charges per unit.
Because publishers are still understanding how digital world works. Don't forget that. They want to see how much they can get away with before they can drop their price.
You're saying, I was wondering what external factors are in play to stop digital games keeping pace with retail? Is it anything to do with retail's ability to bulk buy versus per license purchases on digital licenses?
Wow, this guy knows.
Wow, I don't know. He's written a lot of words, but I don't know how well they all clip together.
I remember listening to one of Take-Two's financials, and they said that the margin, even though the price was higher on a copy of Borderlands 2 on a digital marketplace,
right,
like 50 quid or whatever it was on PS3, the margins were identical to the physical copy, which was weird. And I guess maybe that's down to scalability in the sense that they only ship so many digital copies, so they're making out that their margins...
I do wonder what the server costs are as well.
Sony charge,
like
don't they? Sony, if you want a demo, or this was how it was a while ago, if you wanted a demo on PlayStation Network, you paid the costs. So you paid,
the publisher?
Yeah, the publisher paid, not Sony. So that was always a consideration.
It's weird though, and it's something that we often talk about on here. And that is probably my biggest fear for next gen. Definitely, when Xbox was heading towards a digital only type thing, is that you're no longer in that kind of free market where there's competition. You just own that marketplace, and you can set your prices, and they can stay there forever.
Modern Warfare. The original Modern Warfare on Steam, I had a look the other day, it's still like 30 quid or something. And I was like, what's going on?
That's the thing.
Well, I think some publishers just aren't playing ball with the pricing.
I also think some publishers aren't very savvy, and they want to see how much they can... Well, they are savvy maybe, and they want to see will people buy this at this price.
I think maybe that's a big problem, is especially because, I mean, really, fundamentally, the problem comes down to these companies employ too many people. And you know what? Like, when they've got to sell these games for these vast prices because
they've got to make a profit.
They have so many people they need to pay because they have an infrastructure of loads of people. When obviously indies make millions because they make a little game with 4 or 5 people,
takes off,
and then they make millions of quid.
I find it odd though because
it's still early days.
There's obviously games on the marketplaces that aren't selling anymore, like the original Grid, for example. That's not selling any copies anywhere, and it's £15 normally or around that. They reduced it to about £3, and it sold absolute shitloads. £3, and it's like, why don't you just make that the norm for the older side of things?
I think with some things as well, I mean, I think we've said that, I've said in the past, I think Deep Silver really, I think they're quite new to the game, and I get the impression that maybe they've got like the guy in charge might be a bit behind the times or something, because it's just weird going on Steam and being like, Saints Row 4, £40. It's like, I just get the impression that somebody's gone and tried to have a word with the man in charge and say, guys, like, we kind of need to make it like 25 quid. And them going, what? That's ridiculous. It's £40. Exactly. If they want to download it, they spend £40. Otherwise, we're getting ripped off.
Well, that's the thing. But some people probably think that. Because,
I know, yeah.
Sorry, chatting with Mike there. Because some people think that because people have been selling retail games for so long. They're like, what do you mean? Look, a person,
ripped off.
A person, and this was quite a few years ago now, but still, within, we're talking about 3-4 years, from a very high-profile developer, said to me, how do we work our internet exclusive with he was American, obviously UK. How do we work our exclusives with you? I said, how do you mean? He goes, well, obviously we'll put it on the American internet, and then when should we put it on the UK internet? I think I died. But that just goes to show. Obviously, this was a few years ago, and this guy may have been a moron. Well, he was a moron. But the fact that happened to me is just. Is that what some people think in these companies?
Guy that asked you about the road as well?
It was the guy that asked me about the road. He said, are you going to E3 this year? I said, of course. He said, are you taking the bridge? The bridge, that well-known bridge from UK to US. I like to point out, this wasn't during a dinner or an evening thing. This was an afternoon meeting. He was not drunk.
That's incredible.
Are you taking the bridge?
That's an incredible story. I love it.
It's just stunning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest problem really, and I think that's it's just generally across the board. At the moment, the industry's struggling, and it's just like you know what? People just aren't being savvy enough. And actually, recently there was the big thing with Blitz Games closing, and that was a weird one because there was a kind of a real.
Yeah,
it's sad because they've been around for so long.
Well, no, this is the thing, and actually I'll talk about this, just trying to be candid about this for people outside of the industry. Blitz Games are a studio who started by the Oliver twins, who invented Dizzy back in the day. And for the past sort of 20 years, they've mainly done a lot of kind of BC grade stuff. They've done a lot of work for big publishers, but basically making stuff like, licensed games for Bratz and stuff, Bratz dolls and all things like that.
Bad Boys 2.
They've done a lot of licensed work. And the thing is, basically, they shut down, and there was this weird kind of clash because a lot of people in the industry were kind of going, it's really sad. But then actually, quite rightly as well, a lot of gamers were just saying, yeah, but they haven't made any fucking good games for a long time. And I was one of those people. I said, you know what? The last good game they made, and this was a great game, was Glover. which was on the
Glover
N64.
was great. I remember Glover.
Yeah, it was great.
Very Dizzy-like.
But it came out
surprisingly.
about 15 years ago.
And it was called Glover.
It's called Glover. But I love that
Glover.
game.
I love that game.
I love the game. And you know what?
You were
Maybe
a
if,
glove.
maybe if you were a Glover. You
You're a glove.
It's like L.A. Noire, the prequel.
What? I don't know.
Danny Glover, Lethal Cop. It's a private joke between me and Burns.
That well-known Danny Glover franchise, Lethal Cop.
But yeah, it was this weird one basically within the industry because you probably might have seen there were lots of websites writing kind of nice retrospectives about Blitz and stuff. And I think basically what it boiled down to was Blitz were really nice guys. I think they've helped a lot of people out.
It's always
in the
sad when
industry.
anything closes.
No,
as well.
absolutely.
Like, you don't want
But I
anyone
think
to
they
lose
were
their jobs.
they were a classic kind of. It's sad people lost their jobs. It's very sad. And I think. I sound pretty facetious there. I don't mean to. I'm just trying to. I don't want to waste too much time on it. But
I know.
It's one of these things where they were really nice people, and I think they've helped so many people in the industry.
That's it. Yeah.
And they've been a real like supporting factor, and I think it's kind of more of an institution. But at the same time, I think you know what, you look at these guys, and they were clearly out of touch, and it's sad. But at the same time, it's like when people are like, "Oh, Blitz have shut down," it's really sad. It's like, come on, like. I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner.
Well, their Dizzy Kickstarter failed as well.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, they said we did.
Been
they said we've done everything we could, you know, and it's like,
And they did.
but they did, but they didn't. And you know what? It's a generational thing, I think here. But having the Oliver twins, two guys in their like 40s, 50s, I imagine, going, "Hey, we want £350,000 to make a new Dizzy game," and you know, the reaction was understandably,
but at least
very muted.
At least they went out with their heads held high, unlike Acclaim back in the day, who went out spending a lot of money.
That's true. No, I think it's sad, but at the same time, I think it's one of those. What's happened with Blitz is kind of endemic of what's happening across the industry of people maybe not being on the wave enough or to keep up with that.
But
and you know,
doesn't it? There's always casualties.
it does happen. But this brings me back to basically just something that has always annoyed me for the whole time I've been working as an adult is the fact that people don't listen to young people, right? And if you're a young person listening to podcasts, you'll know this. But no, I've worked for lots of big companies and small companies, and I've consistently watched them making stupid mistakes and watching them just slowly piss their businesses into barrels because they don't have the sense to see that things are changing, and they've got too much of an ego to listen to younger people who know what's going on. And
who was it? Oh, I can't remember the company. I'll have to look it up. I'm so sorry. It's me, the worst anecdote ever now. But there was a company who was told, right back, a decade ago more, you've got to get online. And they laughed. And they went, online? They're going to take over anything. That's what they said. And now that company is dead.
Yeah, precisely.
I can't remember who that was. I'll look it up and tell you next week.
What, games-wise or...
No, it was just it's a huge company. And they were told, you must embrace the internet now. They laughed it off and said, no one will ever, that will never take off.
But you know what? The smartest companies just, they don't go, oh, shut up, you're young or whatever. They listen to people who are young and then they go,
they take everything into account and make a decision.
I'm going to get into a point when I've got 10, 15 years' time, I'm not going to know what the piss I'm talking about. And at that point, I'm going to try and have somebody who's much younger and say, tell me what to do. What are we doing?
Wow, that's a fascinating scenario.
Because at the moment, I feel like I'm on the cutting edge of things. I know what's what, but I know that will change. But I think at the moment, games particularly.
I feel like everything passes me by.
You'd be all right, Dave.
Apart from wrestling.
You'll be all right. Come on, Dave, Simon.
Don't call me Dave. See? You're off the cuffs,
I've lost it, mate.
You've lost it already in the
This
last
is the end of the
10 seconds.
Kickstarter process. I've evolved. I've become a Davimon.
He's Davimon now. I want to live in the Davimon land. All right, one last question, and then we're done. I'm on the wrong page, web page. Once you're over the hill, you pick up speed, as they say. Several recent video games that feature strong narrative. This is from Slenderman Co., I should add, who designed the Dave Kickstarter competition. Several recent video games that feature strong narratives contain scenes that many find confronting or even disturbing. A few reviewers even give these games a lower score due to their presence, often citing the lack of a chance to change outcomes as a factor. Many widely regarded films also contain scenes that take viewers to dark and uncomfortable places. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Do you think we've reached a stage where video games are treated similar to films as valid attempts to highlight societal issues and start discussions? Or
No.
But
I do think they should be, and I also think that depending on the scene, because there are some films that ruin the enjoyment for me if a scene's bad. But depending on the scene, I don't think that necessarily means you have to knock a point off.
Is the question that we are overly critical on games that try this, so that we deliberately mark things down, or whether we can?
He suggests that films will often get kind of rave reviews when they take people to dark and uncomfortable.
Yeah, which is
places.
true. A lot of
is that true? When Clockwork Orange came out, wasn't it kind of like, and then later on it was regarded as...
I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Well, it depends.
I don't know. I
But
wasn't
then
born
stuff
when
like
that
the
came
Saw
out.
films, the Saw films were like, you know.
Yeah, but that did it in a silly way, didn't it, to a degree?
But also
Games do often.
Absolutely.
The first Saw film, though, was well received. People thought it was actually quite a good concept. And even though some of it was quite gratuitous and over the top, people thought it kind of fits the context. It was just when they franchised the crap
Agency
out
is
of it.
key, isn't it? Agency is key in video games. That's the main difference. The whole thing with Hotline Miami 2's opening with the rape stuff. People like, and the counter argument was, yeah, but the violence is fine. So you didn't mind running around smashing people's skulls in. And the counter argument is, well, yeah, because I chose to do that, and then suddenly I'm in a cutscene. I'm doing that, you know.
Yeah.
But my character, my avatar is doing that, but I'm not doing it. And the thing is about taking people to dark and uncomfortable places. Like, there are a lot of movies that do that, but they don't have to be horror movies. And the most well-regarded movies that do kind of that, where you think, oh man, that is terrible, are movies like The Godfather, The Godfather Part 2.
Or The Orphanage. You seen that?
Yeah, you don't...
No, I'm not joking.
No. I've never heard of that film. That's all. So I was like, I don't.
Watch
okay.
The Orphanage. It's fucking scary.
But
It's horrible.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be cutting people's dicks off. It just has to be like a slow descent into, like, on TV tropes. It's called the moral
Does it
event
make
horizon.
a difference if it's the element of control? Like if something happens in a
that's the
cutscene,
whole
I
difference.
think, but is that not
That's
why
the whole
video
difference.
games? I'm not saying it's right or wrong,
What
but
if-
is that not where video games can stand out
Well,
because
there's a
they can
final,
make you do things
well,
you
that's
don't
it.
want to
There's
do?
a final line to this question, which is, does the interactive nature of video games create more of an impact on individuals and increase their discomfort?
I think so.
And I think definitely.
I think this question must have come from this GTA scene, which we're not going to reference, but I think someone threw it out there quite early. Now, when I played it, I said to you, Matt, I said I did not like that scene. I found it very uncomfortable. I found it very off-putting. And I'd rather not have done it. But I didn't then get to sit down to review the game and think, well, I must knock a point off because of that. Because
but someone did.
But do you
didn't it?
find-
Wasn't it?
Some people did.
One review gave it a 7.
it was in context, and it didn't feel it didn't feel out of sync for the character.
But I don't think context is enough. I think value is important. And
Well,
you know
that's
what?
true. It's difficult. Like,
I've been doing something recently that's I've been thinking about this topic a lot, actually. And I think the games that have handled that really well, the game that handled it perfectly first was Shadow of the Colossus. Of course, this idea of like, you know what, you're going to do something now, and you're going to gradually realize that what you're doing is unpleasant.
Yeah,
but
and
you're
wrong.
But you don't have a choice not to do it, because it's like that's what you're doing. And this idea of being like, you're not like, you don't have complete player agency, but just by being involved with mild agency, just going along for the ride, you feel complicit. And that adds value because it's like, it's unpleasant, but it makes you feel different. It makes you, it's like, to me, that's the point, really. And it's not when games have interesting themes or interesting ideas or talk about sexuality or gender that games become art. It's at those moments. It's like, for me, art is sensing something new.
The Last of Us is like that as well, really. Again, we won't spoil anything here, but
Yeah,
the way
absolutely.
The Last of Us finishes is kind of like that. It puts you in a position that you may feel uncomfortable with. I think it's difficult. I think it's something that still, no one's got it 100%. Not that people have got it right, but it's still, I think people
I
still
get the feeling though
experimenting
with this
it.
stuff in GTA, because obviously I have had this spoiled for me, unfortunately, because I made your website put a video up of it. But I don't know how I'm going to have to see how I feel about it in the context, because it's not like I'm going to sit there and go, oh, that's very horrible, I don't like the tone of that. I think it's just the fact you've got to make use of it. Like, if you're going to make a player do something really unpleasant in a video game, then I want that to have a kind of emotional value in the narrative.
And it does, though, because it's not difficult to work out who's doing it, but he would do this. Like, it's made perfectly clear. And just because I didn't particularly like it as a player doesn't mean I think it makes the game any worse.
No, yeah.
That's just my individual response to that scene.
That's the whole problem there, is he would do it, but would you do it? And again, there's the disconnect between your avatar and his story and your own. Just like, so say, I'm fairly sure, and I don't know anything about it, but that's well, a great place to start with. But that torture scene, if it's near the same level of awfulness as anything in the Punisher video game, I'll be surprised. As in drilling people's eyes out, putting people in shark tanks, having their skulls ripped off. Everyone just went, fucking yes, the Punisher. Because the Punisher, when you sign up to be the Punisher, you know what you're doing. And if there's a problem between how you feel and how the character feels, I reckon there should be an out.
It's a debate to be had. It's a silly thing to say, but it's true.
I don't know how long this scene lasts. Let's say, for sake of argument, it's 10 minutes. Is that about right?
15.
Okay, right. Given how big GTA is, I don't know, you're what, 30,
Well, that's the
40
other
hours
thing,
in?
yeah.
If that was a 50-minute scene within a 6-hour game, would that change your opinion?
No. But
It's not as if it just gets lost amongst everything
maybe
else.
I'm different in that sense, in that if I don't like one thing, or that to me is not enough to ruin my enjoyment of it.
I know.
Unless it's really bad. I mean, if it did something... I think this was bad. If it did something that was completely... But to me, this is GTA. It's a game where if you want, you can walk around and you can shoot people in the head. Like, to me, that's just as bad, but we all accept that.
You know what? Maybe, I mean, this is the thing is I'm really interested to go and play this and mull this over and just see how I feel about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if, in a way, it sounds to me like this might be the ultimate kind of like turning the mirror on you in terms of like the fact that people have been buying GTA games to do horrible things for years.
But when it makes you do it,
and they're like, right, you know what, you sick fucker,
totally agree.
You buy these games because you want to kill people.
Totally
How
agree.
about you do this?
And the other thing as well is that I genuinely didn't think this would create that much of a fuss. So what does that say about me? I thought everyone would just accept this, like, oh, but that's just what they've done.
I think it's interesting, and I think it will be the most interesting thing about the game.
It'll be the most talked about.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's a shame though, really. I honestly wouldn't. I think I mentioned it in one of the features I did with GTA. I think in a passing line about Trevor saying some of the things he does you may not like. That was it. I didn't think it needed any more prominence. And I didn't think it'd get picked up on that much.
It's all about context and value. And you know what? I've had a lot of people criticising me for stuff recently, basically saying that I'm kind of like I have a problem with games that break taboos and stuff. It's not true at all. I don't think there should be any taboos in any form of entertainment. I just think that when you break a taboo, it has to have context and it has to have value, it has to add something. And the things I don't like when in any form of medium, when it does something that's maybe kind of edgy or is when it's crass, is when it's just something that feels like it's there
I don't
for no reason.
Yeah,
precisely.
Earlier Family Guy jokes
what?
are the former. There's one early, I think it's fairly early Family Guy jokes, but about where I think Brian says, "I was laying with an FDR's legs." And then someone goes too soon, and of course it's not. It's been 50 years, and and then now later Family Guy jokes are crass. It's just a cutaway to someone saying something really fucking horrible about someone, and then going,
I really don't think that this scene was put in to be crass or just to get people talking.
No, I don't think it was.
I genuinely think it believed because
they don't
they
need
thought
any more talk about GTA.
but I genuinely think they thought we are going all the way with this character, which they do. We have to have something that really shines a light on who he is. And they did this, and I think in that sense it works really well. Just because as a player I found it uncomfortable. Maybe there's a point. Maybe I'm supposed to find it uncomfortable. Yeah. But I do not think that it should not be done because of the reasons people are saying. But I think if we want games to be accepted like films and books and movies and all of that, then these things have to happen. And if you agree with it, great. If you don't agree with it, great. But just make sure the debate is what is.
And actually, you know what? When you've got like, I think I'm more than anything, I'm just interested because I think the idea of making violence unpleasant in games which are inherently being played for violence, I think is a valuable thing to do.
And it is unpleasant.
Have you seen the film Funny Games?
No, I have not.
The film Funny Games, you can watch either because they've made it in the original one was, what was it? Finnish?
French?
I can't remember. I think it was a Norwegian, maybe not. But anyway, they made two versions, the US one and the original. They're both shot for shot, almost exactly the same. Yeah. So you can watch either and it's great. But it's supposed to be an antidote to horror movies in America and violence, because basically what it does is it makes a violent film, right? A senseless violence, but the whole point of it is to showcase how exciting and sexy Hollywood makes violence-looking films. So it's it's a film in which these two young men torture and kill and hunt down a family and just one by one kill them. And there's no motive, there's no reason. And it's just horrible. It's relentlessly unpleasant. And it's horrible to watch. It makes you feel really uncomfortable. But that's the point. It's basically just going, violence is horrible. And that's the point of this film is violence is not nice. And I don't know. I think that's something that games have toyed with a little bit, but they kind of want to have their cake and eat it.
Yeah,
they're
totally
kind of like, I mean, that's why I hated fucking Red River. What's it called? Operation Flashpoint. It was like, hey guys, war is bad. Ding! Headshot, 10 points. Headshot, 10 points. It's like, you know what? Fucking choose your side, you dickheads. Anyway, we should probably wrap it up. We're running over. But we will have, if you've enjoyed the kind of GTA chat, I'm sure we're going to go into this stuff in much more depth quite soon.
Yeah, we will do.
So do keep an eye out. And if you have enjoyed the podcast, then give us a bloody rating on the iTunes or something and do a subscribe. Lovely, lovely, sexy people, you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye.